Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
I'm back, Outlaws, Gunslingers, week 2 of a new month, Thanksgiving month.
on a steel horse I ride, 'cause they're wanted.
Right? Thought we were going to do wrap up the Bandidos with Crimes in America, but I forgot all about Crimes in Australia, which there's some pretty crazy crimes in this one, especially a crazy shootout with the Comancheros in New South Wales. That was a pretty big deal. Yeah, Australia. And just like every other country and every other biker club, they've been convicted of, well, some members have, partaken in criminal enterprises including theft, extortion, prostitution, drug trafficking, and murder.
Oh.
And Moida.
Oh.
And they deny being a criminal organization as well.
Makes sense.
They are classified as motorcycle gang by numerous countries, including Australia, by the Australian Federal Police at that. Numerous investigations have targeted them and implicated them in illegal drugs, supply, and other crimes. Mm-hmm. They have about 400 members in all of Australia, 45 chapters. They are allied with the Diablos, the Mob Shitters, the Rock Machine, and they're rivals with the Comancheros, the Finks, the Gypsy Jokers, the Angels, the Mongols, Notorious, Rebels, and the Red Devils. And we'll take a look at, surprisingly, the only big feud they've had in this country are with the Comancheros, the Gypsy Jokers, the Notorious, and the Rebels. Not even no Hell's Angels, like big war like they were all the other countries. Kind of crazy. But we'll start with New South Wales and their conflict with the Comancheros. That was their first international chapter was founded in Sydney by 11 disillusioned former members of the Comancheros in 1983 is when they established some Sydney ones, and they were a break-off of the Comancheros. If you ask police what led to that split off, they'll give you the usual answers. They say turf, drugs, or maybe a messy cocktail of both. But if you ask the men who were actually involved in it, they'll tell you something different. It wasn't business. It was personal, and it was personal.
Yeah. Well, both clubs, they had an official no drugs policy. It was on paper. This was a rule that sounded noble. Didn't exactly hold up in the real world, though. Never does. Still, according to Colin Campbell, they call him Caesar, a man who'd worn the Sergeant-at-Arms patch for both the Comancheros and the Bandidos. The real problem wasn't powder or pills. It was pride, baby. That pride. Late 1983, things inside the Comancheros started to rot from the inside out. One night, one of Campbell's brothers, another club member, decided to drop in on a fellow biker, only to find the club's president and founder, William George Ross. They call him Jacques. They call him in a situation that was, let's just say, compromising. You've been caught fooling around with another member's wife. Uh-oh. Well, now in the outlaw circles, that's not just bad manners. That's breaking one of the club's sacred 10 rules. And as a sergeant-at-arms, Campbell had to do his job.
Yeah, he's responsible for carrying out punishment.
He ordered Ross to face internal charges. If found guilty, Ross would have been kicked out of the very club he built from the ground up. He gets to keep his life.
Right.
But Jock Ross wasn't about to sit in front of his own men and take that humiliation. He skipped the first 2 meetings. Finally showed up to the third. He didn't stick around to defend himself. Instead, he made an announcement that would change Australian biker history forever. He said the Comancheros were split into 2 chapters, and he walked out. You know what? Fuck you guys. Everyone wants to come with me? Come on.
Right, basically, just like that, club divided. Those who wanted Ross gone stayed at the Birch Grove Clubhouse, a 2-story building overlooking...
He walked in, he said, I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do.
All I know is who's coming with me. Yeah, that 2-story clubhouse looked over Urban Park in Sydney. Among them were the 6 Campbell brothers, the 3 McElwain brothers, Anthony Snodgrass Spencer. We've heard his name. Yeah. He's known to everybody as Snotty, and Charles Charlie Saberas. Meanwhile, Ross and his loyalists, they packed up and started a new chapter over in Harris Park, setting the stage for what was to become one of the bloodiest feuds in Australian outlaw history. Didn't take long for things to boil over either. During the 1983 Christmas run, A big annual ride where clubs usually blow off steam. The two Comanchero factions cross paths, and fists flew. The fighting got ugly. By the time the dust settled, it was clear. You ain't gonna fix this feud between these two fuckers.
Not today, Charlie. Not today. Birch Grove chapter was done with Ross and his crew. They wanted a new identity. That's when old Snotty, he remembered a trip he'd taken to the States just a few years back. Came up with an idea. He said, guess what, boys? He said, while visiting American biker clubs, he'd meet members of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, and they treated him with nothing but respect. He said, you can believe it, guys. They didn't care what patch I was wearing. So Snotty reached out to Ronnie Hodge, the Bandidos national president in the United States of America. They're like, hey, man, you guys willing to add another crew over here in Australia? We'll fly those colors down under.
Down under?
After months of letters and back and forth messages. Well, this was the early 80s, so no texting, no emails, nothing like, maybe emails.
Maybe emails.
Hodge gave the green light. He said, go for it, boys. The first official Bandidos chapter in Australia was born. Anthony Snodgrass Spencer as its national president. Sealed the deal. The newly patched over Bandidos held a little ceremony. They took their old Comanchero colors, tossed them to a fire, and watched them burn, baby, burn. A symbolic middle finger to their former bros. But if anything thought that it would be the end of it, they were dead wrong. Down wrong.
But it must be everybody. Clubhouse attacks, ambushes, and violent clashes became routine after this. By the August of 1884, the bad blood had reached a boiling point. According to Colin Campbell, it was around that time that Snotty and Jack Ross had a phone call that would go down in biker lore. During that very call, Campbell says the two men didn't argue or negotiate. They straight out declared war. It's like that scene in Pineapple Express. I'm coming with you. I'm coming at you for everything we got. She's like, do you know what you just did? Well, during that heated call, like I said, they declared war, and that's when things really got bloody. And this all started, and it all went down September 2nd, 1984. It's a Sunday that started with a simple motorcycle swap meet and ended in one of the most infamous biker bloodbaths Australia or the world's ever seen.
Ooh.
The flyer for the event promised a laid-back British motorcycle club gathering at the Viking Tavern. Kicked off at 10 a.m., but by early afternoon, it turned into a war zone, literally.
Wow. Around 1 o'clock p.m., 19 armed Comancheros rode into the tavern's car park.
That's a parking lot, guys.
Weapons ready. Quietly took up positions. Their leader, William Jacques Ross, he's a military buff with a flair for dramatic tactics. He even modeled his ambush on something called the Bullhorn Ambush. This is a move that he'd read about from the Anglo-Zulu War. The plan, it was easy. It was to lure the Bandidos in. Ross would stand out in the open like bait, right?
Nobody's seen 19 bikers pull up?
Right. This would give the illusion that he was alone, which, I mean, everybody knows he's not going to be alone.
Right.
And then, bam, everybody pounces on him. It's a trap. But Ross got distracted when a few members in another club, the Mob Shitters, they showed up nearby, and he stepped away to make sure they weren't about to jump him.
Or jump in.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Bandidos, they were running late. Thinking the rivals weren't even coming, a few Comancheros wandered into the tavern bar for a drink. 20 minutes later, though, 34 Bandidos rode up, heavily armed, organized, and ready to make noise.
Damn.
The Comancheros caught flat-footed, and they were scattered around the car park as the Bandidos parked together at the Western Inn, grabbed their guns and weapons, started marching in formation towards their enemies. Jeez.
Oh, shit.
Caesar Campbell, who's the Bandito sergeant-at-arms, he led the charge, flanked by his brothers and his adopted brother, Mario Cienter. While the President Anthony Snodgrass, he stayed back in his car.
Oh, I bet he did. On the other side stood Philip Jeske. They call him Leroy. Sergeant-at-arms for the Comancheros. Leading their line. Bayonets out, baby.
Right.
As the two sides face off, Comanchero member Ivan Romsek, they call him Sparrow, suddenly stepped forward and jammed a shotgun into Campbell's chest. Ooh. At first, it was all shouting and posturing, both sides taunting each other, dropped the guns and said it like men, let's fight this out.
Right.
Then someone's weapon accidentally went off in the air.
Oh, accidentally, huh?
And that's when
The whole fucking OK Corral started.
Oh my goodness. Chaos erupted. Gunfire cracked. Fists flew. Viking Tavern parking lot became a full-on battlefield. We got bikers falling everywhere. We got leather getting ripped. And this is just
Smoke
sickening.
and debris everywhere. Fucking ricochets and
broken meth bags everywhere.
Right.
What the hell?
Earl Campbell, he managed to wrestle Romsek's gun away, but before he could fire, he got clocked from behind by Ian Snow White.
Oh.
White then turned his weapon on the Bandito George Zorba Coratoras, but before he could pull the trigger, one of the Comanchero's girlfriends jumped in, and Coratoras hit her, knocking her down.
Man.
Romsek swung the butt of his rifle and smashed Coratoras in the stomach.
Ooh.
Jeske fired his own gun, apparently by accident, straight into the air. Contrary to what newspapers would later claim, there wasn't some dramatic charge or Hollywood-style face-off. It was just a chaotic mess of fists, kicks, and gunfire.
Right.
That's what they said. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Though it never made the headlines. Several wives and girlfriends took part in the brawl, swinging whatever they could grab. From there, it was absolute carnage. Lance Wellington, Bandino skilled in karate, took down Snow White with a clean hit. Jeff with the G. Jeff with the G Campbell.
Fuck you. Fuck Jeffs with G's. Dude.
Right, his name's Snake. He is a fucking snake. He caught a shotgun blast, and his little bro, Caesar Campbell, he ran to help, only to get hit himself.
Uh-oh.
Meanwhile, a bystander named Linda Martin, sitting in the car nearby, reading an Agatha Christie novel, whatever. Just reading a novel while shit's going on. This is when stray pellets tore through her windshield from the shotgun blast. Those pellets come from Gregory Shadow Campbell, who was trying to shoot Comanchero Glenn Eves, but instead struck Martin, leaving her in pain. Leaving her in some pain and humiliated after losing control of her bowels from the shot.
Damn, shit herself.
That sucks. That'd be more worse than a little pellet hole in your arm.
All right. Well, she later described the scene as pure bedlam.
No, I bet. Was she talking about the shit in the car? Or?
Bullets flying from every direction, people ducking behind cars, glass exploding, chains swinging, right? Bowels exploding, screaming everywhere. She said the sound was deafening, not just the gunfire, but the metal, the shouting, the panic. She said it all happened so quickly. You'd blink and there were 3 bodies on the ground.
Damn.
There were kids in the crowd, parents tossing them over fences to safety.
Oh, shit.
And even a pregnant woman lying in the middle of the lot while her husband begged to get to her.
Oh, wow.
Through all that chaos, Martin's anger kicked in. She grabbed her camera and started snapping photos of the madness. These pictures ended up being key evidence in the trials that followed, showing exactly who was where and when at the Viking Tavern as it turned from a Sunday bike meet into a full-blown war zone.
Ooh, oh, man. Fight at the Viking Tavern didn't stop when the first shots rang out. It just got meaner. Glenn Eves, reservist with the Australian Army, who happened to be on leave, fought like a man on a mission. He darted from car to car, reloading as he went. He's doing cartwheels and somersaults and shit. He's using the wrecks as cover while returning fire with military precision. Bullets and buckshots were flying in every direction. And before long, Shadow Campbell, one of the banditos, took a shotgun blast to the throat. Bled out right there in the car park. The Popo, who would later charge everyone involved with murder, regardless of who killed who. That's the way to do it, I guess, right? Slapped Shadow's brother with the homicide charge. Damn.
It was their blanket policy. In a mess like this, every survivor carried the blame.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Mario Chopper Cianter, and the Bandidos vice president, he had his sights set with his .357 Magnum Rossi rifle. He lined up on Robert Foggy Lane, the Comanchero's vice president, pulled the trigger. One clean shot to the chest, straight through the arteries to the heart. Foggy was dead before he hit the ground.
Wow.
Cianter didn't stop there. He turned his aim towards Philip Leroy Jeske and dropped him with another single bullet. This one through the heart, too. Damn. And then he spotted Raymond Sunshine Cookler, another Comanchero, and squeezed off around but missed. Instead, the bullet hit Leanne Walters, a 14-year-old bystander who'd been watching the chaos instead of running from it.
Son of a buck.
The shot struck her in the face, tore off her lower jaw, and killed her instantly when it severed her spinal cord.
Son of a bitch.
Cianter apparently didn't even realize he just killed a child. He kept firing, finally hitting Kukler and wounding him. But Kukler, he wasn't done yet. He took cover behind the car, raised his shotgun, and he fired twice. Oh, jeez.
Damn, that very blast hit Cianter in the chest and the head, severing his aorta and killing him on the spot.
It's got to be the most violent
Holy
biker thing we've covered
shit.
so far.
Despite being outnumbered and losing some of their biggest names, the Comancheros started pushing the Bandidos back. The edge came from the paramilitary training Jacques Ross had drilled into his men. They advanced under fire like soldiers instead of bikers. The Bandidos fell back behind a Holden lorry belonging to Philip Bull Campbell. Old Bull, along with Lance Willington, James Roach Poser, and Charlie Siberass. They tried desperately to load his badly wounded brother John Campbell into the truck to get him to the hospital. But before they could move, Kukler, Eves popped back up, opened fire, riddling the lorry with pellets and glass. Wellington caught some in the face. Truck's disabled from here on out, so the Bandidos dragged their wounded into the bushes. Still under fire, Jeff with the G and his dying brother Shadow were pulled out of the line of fire, both bleeding heavily, probably gonna die. Eves kept on fighting, moved from car to car, hunting for more Bandidos to shoot. This is until Grant Pig Everest surprised him with a swing from a water pipe.
Oh.
Eves dropped to a knee, leveled his gun at Everest's chest, and deliberately lowered it and shot him in the knee instead.
Oh, he's just trying to take out his knees. As Everest fell, a Comanchero girlfriend came running up and smashed him in the face with a metal bar, breaking his nose. Inside the tavern, the patrons still had no idea what kind of war was raging outside. They were watching the Blues Brothers on TV, drinking beer, when Kavork Tamazian, a Comanchero, staggered through the door, his left arm hanging by a thread from a shotgun blast. Outside, Jock realized how bad it had gotten. His carefully laid plan was gone. Chaos ruled the field, you think?
Kidding, son of a bitch.
Grabbing a machete in one hand and a pick handle in the other, Ross ran out of the back of the tavern, maybe trying to rally his men, maybe just trying to fight his way out. He didn't get far, though. Shotgun blast ripped through his foot.
Ooh.
Another round caught him in the head and chest, dropping him where he stood.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, Snodgrass, he never even left his car. Despite having a gun, he stayed put, terrified. Something his men never forgave him for. Yeah, what a pussy, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say
He's
what a
like,
pussy.
I'm going to stand there by myself, like I'm here by my alone. Yeah, you didn't even get out the car. When it was all said and done, the police finally got the call. Reports of a man gone berserk with a rifle at the Viking Tavern.
Just a man?
Shots fired everywhere. The battle had lasted about 10 minutes.
Damn.
Must have felt like an hour, though. Helicopters circled overhead while terrified locals sprinted for safety, ducking behind cars, hiding behind fences. The first officer showed up 15 minutes after it ended and immediately roped off the area.
You have a 10-minute long gun battle, and it takes the cops still 15 minutes to show up?
Ridiculous.
After the 10 minutes?
Right. Wow. The cops didn't realize what they're getting to until they started walking into the scene that looked like a war zone.
Good Lord, man.
My goodness gracious. Wow. In total, 2 Comancheros dead, shotgun wounds. 2 more from the Rossi rifle. 2 Bandidos killed by shotgun blasts. Leanne Walters' 14-year-old girl got her face blown off.
Jeez.
After 28 people were wounded, 20 of them needed hospital care. By the time smoke cleared, the parking lot looked less like a biker meet, more like a battlefield. One that would change Australia's outlaw motorcycle world forever.
Ron Stevenson, the lead investigator on the case, he would later say that while bullets were still flying outside, the bar staff inside were still surfing beer.
Oh, wow.
Some patrons sat calmly watching the chaos unfold through the windows, pints in hand, while the parking lot turned into a battlefield. Stevenson remembered walking up to the scene. The car park was packed with leather-clad bikies, cops, and ambulance officers tending to the wounded. One sergeant turned to a young constable and told him, "Take a good look, son. You'll never see anything like this again." And you know what? The bikies looked proud of what they'd done.
Wow.
Constable John Garvey, one of the first officers to arrive, he would never forget it either. He described the wounds as horrific, saying those kinds of weapons can do terrible damage, you think?
Oh, no shit.
Garvey found himself staring down Raymond Sunshine Kukler. He was still armed with a shotgun. He was covered in blood, Garvey said. He had a wound under one eye, and you could see the rage in him. It was a critical moment, life or death. Kukler demanded ambulances for his wounded brothers, but Garvey told him that wouldn't happen unless he put his weapon down.
Oh.
Yeah, can't get to your EMS in here if you're going to be brandishing weapons. After a tense standoff, the two agreed to lower their shotguns together, and he surrendered on the spot.
I bet he did.
Well, inside the Bandidos ranks, Caesar Cambo, he has a mess of wounds, 6 gunshots in total.
Damn.
He spent 6 weeks in intensive care before checking himself out, with 4 shotgun pellets still lodged in his body. His wife later dug them out herself before he took off for Western Australia.
Oh, wow.
Campbell would later claim that one of the Comanchero's wives had shot him multiple times with a handgun. Another officer on the scene, Mark Pennington, he suffered so much psychological trauma from that day, he was awarded $380,000 in compensation, which is about $1 million today.
What?
Damn, man.
For what?
Psychological trauma, man.
Yeah, but he took that job knowing that would happen. You don't get money for that shit.
Yeah, but it's Australia. You don't see that shit.
John Wack Campbell, badly wounded in the fight, never recovered. Died in jail a few years later from complications. Jock Ross, Comanchero leader.
Oh, damn, he didn't die at that time.
Wasn't much better off. Bullet to the head left him with brain damage, and partial blindness, and the loss of his ability to read and write. The Viking Tavern itself didn't escape the curse of Millpura either. It was later renamed the Mill Hotel, trying to bury its past. I'm like, you sons of bitches, it's ruined this whole area. I'm sure they were getting mobbed with tourism and all that, right? Everybody want to see the famous gunfight.
Maybe.
Years and years later, one of the men who survived that day, choosing to stay anonymous, he summed it up simply. Millpura was catastrophic. It's ridiculous and terrible. We've all paid a price. We'll never escape it. We were just guys from all walks of life. Optometrists, engineers, clerks, just blue-collar workers. Just looking to break free for a night, you know? Dress like Marlon Brando and feel like rebels. But Stevenson never bought the story that it wasn't planned. Both the Comancheros and Bandidos later tried to claim that the violence had erupted spontaneously. Like, hey, we were just going to, talk it out. No one expected a war that day. And everybody had the weapons and shit to do it. Stevenson said, nah, I'm not having that. And he said, I can't accept that. They knew that was coming. They were ready for it. They'd already declared war. And when that happens, a full-scale battle is only a matter of time, he said.
Yep. The fallout from the Millpura massacre didn't end in the parking lot either. It spilled straight into one of the biggest courtroom dramas in Australian history.
Really?
The trial that followed was massive, unprecedented, and chaotic, even by outlaw biker standards, they say. In total, 43 men were charged with 7 counts of murder under the doctrine of common purpose, meaning that everyone who took part is responsible.
Oh.
10 of those charges were dropped before the trial even began, and Bernard Bernie Podgorski, he's the Bandido secretary, he flipped, granted immunity after turning Queen's evidence against his own club.
Bandidos hired solicitor Christopher Murphy to represent him.
Solicitor. You can tell this is in Australian language, because that would be a lawyer, right?
Right. The defense team read like a who's who of the legal world. You had Greg James, QC, represented all but one of the accused Bandidos. The only exception was Colin Campbell. They called him Caesar. Then you had Greg Woods, QC, in his corner. James, he was backed by a pack of junior lawyers, John Corn, Kenneth Rosen, Andrew Martin, Philip Young, all cutting their teeth on what was quickly becoming an historic case. Bandidos national president Anthony Schnotty Spencer never made it to trial. He hung himself in prison for his day in court. Prosecution was led by Michael Allen Viney.
Hid in the car and then hung himself.
Right. The prosecution was led by Michael Allen Viney, who faced the inevitable job of untangling one of the most complex criminal cases the country has ever seen.
Well, that trial became the longest joint criminal proceeding in New South Wales history. Security was airtight. 58 police officers guarded the courtroom daily, including armed members of the Tactical Operations Unit. Even witnesses needed armed escorts from the witness security unit just to get home alive.
Damn.
Jury selection alone turned into a circus with 31 defendants, each legally allowed to reject 20 jurors without explanation.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. Court called up a staggering 1,500 potential jurors, temporarily housing them at the Penrith Leagues Club.
Oh, jeez.
On day one, 208 were presented. Only 5 were accepted.
Wow.
All these bikers are like, no. The next day, 2 of those 5 turned out to be ineligible, and the presiding judge, Justice Adrian Roden, he scrapped the entire panel and started over.
Wow.
After endless rounds of vetting, questioning, and dismissals, nearly 1,000 people were cycled through before a full jury of 12 was finally seated. Gosh. That's just dumb.
Wow, that very trial dragged on for 2 years, more than 2 years. A grueling process filled with testimony, finger pointing, graphic evidence from the Viking Tavern carnage. And finally, on the 12th of June, 1987, the jury said, you know what, we're had enough of this shit. 63 murder convictions, 147 manslaughter convictions, and 31 charges of affray.
Public fight or noisy quarrel between two or more people that disturbs the peace.
Public disturbance, yeah. Justice Rawdon, he singled out Jacques Ross, the self-proclaimed supreme commander of the Comancheros, as the man who started it all. Ross was primarily responsible for the decision that members of his club go to Milpera in force and armed. The judge said flatly, it was you, guy. They listened to you. I don't know why. I'm talking like...
Well, he, for his part, was sentenced to life, along with 4 other Comancheros convicted of murder. On the other side, 16 Bandidos received 7-year sentences for manslaughter. Because of the common purpose charges, the rulings were brutal. Colin Campbell was found guilty of the manslaughter of his own brother. A bitter twist that underscored how far the violence had gone, right? His brother, Wack Campbell, would die 3 years later, like we said, from his injuries.
Yeah.
Among the convicted was Philip Knuckles McElwain, a former Commonwealth Games gold medal boxer who joined the Bandidos for the thrill of it.
Oh, wow.
He got off lighter than most, found guilty only of affray and acquitted of both murder and manslaughter.
Right.
He was the only biker to walk out without a major conviction.
He
Damn,
snitched.
what happened to him?
He snitched.
In 1989, 3 Comancheros successfully appealed their murder convictions, got them reduced to manslaughter, and by 92, even Jacques Ross himself was out, released just after 5 years and 3 months behind bars.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was brain dead, basically. What the hell are they going to do with him?
Right.
Why have the state take care of him?
Right. Well, that deadly day in that car park, it didn't just leave scars. It changed Australian law. Before Milpera, New South Wales Firearms and Dangerous Weapons Acts of 1973 had allowed registered gun owners to carry firearms openly, something the Comancheros did proudly. Often seen riding through the towns with shotguns across their backs. After Milpera, that changed, and that changed fast. Lawmakers amended the act to require a good reason for owning or carrying a firearm.
What's their good reason?
Effectively, right. Effectively putting an end to open gun carrying among bikers. It was a small legal paragraph born out of a blood-soaked day that Australia would never forget. This is the day that turned a tavern parking lot into a battlefield, and outlaw motorcycle culture into a permanent part of the nation's criminal history.
All right, well, that was their conflict with the Comancheros, but they're not done with conflicts, because now we're about to move into a conflict with the rebels. This starts in the early hours of November 10th, 1997.
Well, at least they waited a couple years.
A few, yeah. The uneasy peace between the Bandidos and the Rebels Motorcycle Club blew apart in a basement nightclub in Chippendale, Sydney. Down in that dark, smoky room, 3 high-ranking Bandidos, Michael Kulikowski, Sasha Milenkovic, and Rick Raymond. Rick Raymond? Rick Raymond to stoop.
Oh.
They were ambushed and gunned down in cold blood.
Oh, shit.
Kulikowski wasn't just any member, though. He was also the national president of the Bandidos.
Oh.
Milenkovic, he was the national sergeant at arms, and the man responsible for enforcing the club's code, yes. De Stoop, he had been playing a dangerous game as well. He joined the rebels for a brief stint, left owing them money, and then switched sides to the Bandidos.
Oh, wow.
That and betrayal lit the fuse. The shooting was carried out by Konstantinos Georgiou, a serving member of the rebels, and Bruce Malcolm Harrison, who was a former rebel. So why are you doing their bidding, bud?
Right.
When it was over, 3 Bandidos dead. One more, Robin David, he somehow survived with only minor injuries.
Wow.
Good Lord, dude.
Wow. Well, the motive was as old as the outlaw code itself. Money, power, and territory. Both clubs fight for control over the nightclub security operations. Oh, fuck off. A lucrative racket that mixed muscle, intimidation, and a steady stream of cash. It was less about brotherhood and more about who owned the doors, the drugs, and the profits that flowed through them. Harrison, he was picked up just streets away from the scene. But Giorgio, well, he nearly made a clean getaway. It took police until February 1998 to catch up with him. Guess where they found him? Well, they found him on a cargo ship preparing to set sail for Japan.
Yeah.
Not so fast.
Well, both men charged with triple murder. August 99, found guilty. But as often happens in outlaw circles, the story didn't end there. They appealed the verdict and managed to have it overturned.
Oh.
Second trial fell apart, but the law wasn't done with them yet. April 2003, after a third trial, Georgiou and Harrison, they were convicted again, and this time sentenced to a minimum of 28 years in prison. Sealing their place, yeah. Wow.
Good for them.
Violence obviously doesn't stop there, because over a decade later, the Bandidos and Rebels, they're still at each other's throats. December 10th, 2008, police in Western Sydney pulled over a car for what was supposed to be a routine traffic stop. But what they found inside turned the roadside moment into another page of biker history.
Oh.
4 Bandidos, Joshua Clark, Bradley John Duff, Malcolm Sinclair Gregg, and Todd Oberzinski. They were arrested after officers discovered 2 semi-automatic rifles hidden in the vehicle. Oh man.
Really?
They just finished carrying out 2 drive-by shootings in the suburbs of Lernia and Sadleir.
You idiots.
Which police believe were the latest salvos in the never-ending feud between the Bandidos and the Rebels. Same old war, new generation, different streets, same blood. For the clubs that wear these patches, revenge never really goes out of style, does it?
Sure the fuck doesn't.
That's not the only conflicts.
Wow, so that was those guys. Let's take a look at the old conflict with the Gypsy Jokers. It's the 30th of January, the year is 2000. People are still alive, computers working. Bandito member Paul Andrew Bubos was riding his Harley to work through Moorquang when he was ambushed. There's a Smith & Wesson revolver. It barked just once, and the bullet tore through his chest, knocking him off the bike and leaving him bleeding on the side of the road. Guess what? He survived, boys. The hit wasn't random, though. The police quickly traced it to 3 men tied to the Adelaide chapter of the Gypsy Jokers: Robert Cameron, William James Fuller, and David Shannon. Prosecutors said that Fuller wasn't even a full member yet, and just a nominee, a guy trying to prove himself, and that the shooting was supposed to be a part of his initiation. Nothing says, welcome to the club, quite like attempted murder, right?
Well, no, because you needed to murder him.
Right. Attempted murder.
Yeah,
Right.
but you needed to murder him.
Right. November 2000, David Shannon pled guilty to firearms offenses, and he got a 6-year sentence. But Bobos wouldn't live long enough to see justice. Just months later, on the 24th of September, year 2000, he died in an unrelated incident. Really? Closing the book on one of the more personal chapters of the Bandidos war stories.
Yeah, things didn't calm down after that either. Not even close. Not yet. Not by a long shot.
Right.
What started as a single ambush turned into a full-blown feud between the Didos and the Jokers across the Hunter Valley region. It began the old-fashioned way, a few bashings back and forth, but it escalated fast. Soon the home of a Bandito member in Abermain, it was sprayed with bullets in a drive-by shooting. And a tattoo shop owned by the Curry chapter president Rodney Leslie Partington, they called him Pardo, it went up in flames after a firebomb attack in February of 2001.
Bastards.
That tit-for-tat violence reaches breaking point March 24th, 2001. Tragedy, it struck again. Pardo, he was outside the Gypsy Jokers clubhouse in Weston when a handmade and homemade bomb he was handling exploded in his hands. Oh, my. The blast killed him instantly. Yeah, whether he was trying to send a message or settle the score, no one found out for sure, but he did. By the time the smoke cleared, one thing was obvious. The feud between the Didos and the Jokers wasn't about colors or pride anymore. It was about survival, and each explosion, bullet, and body was another reminder that the Outlaw Code didn't leave much room for peace.
Wow.
And as far as we know, they're probably still going back and forth over down under.
Most likely. Take a look at infighting. You always know there's some of that going on. By the mid-2000s, Bandidos Sydney scene had turned into a powder keg of betrayal, greed, bloodshed. Center of it all, Felix Lyle, the man who once ran the club's downtown chapter in Piermont.
I'll say this every time. You can never trust somebody that has 2 first names.
Right. Oh, Felix, he had been a heavy hitter in the Bandidos hierarchy, known for his swagger and his temper. But by 2006, he was out, expelled by his own successor, Rodney Monk. They call him Hooks. Well, they kicked him out for supposedly being not good of character. I don't think any of you guys are, probably.
Right.
In the outlaw world, that phrase can mean a lot of things, but in this case, it meant bad blood over a very dirty job. Monk's feud with Lyle and another member, Dallas Fitzgerald, came down to a heist gone wrong. The theft of $2 million worth of pills from Milad Sand.
pseudoephedrine.
This is a major drug distributor and a Bandito associate. The robbery went sideways, and it went sideways fast. Sand was shot dead during a job in Malabar on the 23rd of November, 2005. What followed, you guessed it, pure outlaw chaos.
Well, Popo later said Monk, he was behind the February 2006 kidnapping and torture of Fitzgerald, trying to squeeze him for information and revenge over the botched robbery.
That's what he did, too. He squeezed him.
He did. He's like, wasn't just the Bandidos involved either. Sand or Sande had ties to the Nomads Motorcycle Club. Investigators believe the abduction was a joint operation between the two. According to reports, Lyle had to cough up $300,000 in ransom to get Fitzgerald released alive. Is he worth that much? Come on. There's no such thing as peace in that kind of business. Just delayed retribution. April 20th, 2006, Monk, he's shot dead in East Sydney, allegedly by Russell Oldham. He's a Bandito and Fitzgerald's own protege.
Oh.
3 weeks later, Oldham himself was dead. He turned a gun on himself at Barramorrow Beach on May 11th. And another bloody cycle of revenge that had spun out of control. Oh, geez, he felt bad for killing him, probably, huh?
Probably.
Either that or the law was on his ass.
Ain't one of the two. As for Lyle, you ask, well, he didn't just walk away. He switched sides. He crossed enemy lines to join the Angels.
Oh, well.
Before long, he was running their Sydney chapter. February 2011, he pulled off one of the biggest coups in Australian biker history.
Cool.
Lyle, he orchestrated defection of 50 to 60 Bandito members straight into the arms of the Angels.
Damn.
A mass betrayal that blew the outlaw scene wide open. They're like, if that can happen, anything could happen. The Angels even paid $6 million to seal the deal. And the move was so devastating, it effectively dissolved the Bandidos Parramatta chapter overnight. For the Bandidos, it was one of the worst blows in their Australian history. But for Lyle, well, it was the ultimate revenge that he's been seeking. In a world built on loyalty, brotherhood, and vengeance, he managed to betray them all and walk away as a king in another kingdom.
And a very large kingdom at that.
Right.
Yeah, well, after this is all going down, we got another conflict, this time with the Notorious. This is still New South Wales.
Right.
By 2009, the Bandidos Wars had evolved from old-school biker grudges to full-blown street warfare spilling across western Sydney. After the Nomads Parramatta chapter fell apart, some of its former members decided they weren't done causing chaos. They went on to create a new outfit called the Notorious. It's a so-called pseudo-motorcycle club.
Oh.
They didn't ride much, but sure knew how to shoot.
Oh.
Notorious quickly made enemies, and none bigger than the Bandidos.
Right.
The violence for this one kicked off on March 16, 2009, when a drive-by shooting ripped through the quiet suburban street where Mahmoud Dib, the sergeant-at-arms of the Bandidos Blacktown chapter, lived. Dib survived, but police believed Notorious they were behind the attack.
Wow. Just 4 short days later, 20th of March, the retaliation machine kicked into gear. That very night, relatives of Notorious members became targets themselves when 2 more drive-bys rocked the neighborhoods of Doonside and Prospect. Bullets, this time, suspected to be payback from the Bandidos, sending a message the way outlaws always have. Fast, loud, and through car windows.
Gotta make sure you get those car windows, man.
Right. But the revenge didn't just stop right there. Nope.
Never does.
2 short days later, 22nd of March, gunfire again erupted, this time in Auburn, leaving 2 men hospitalized.
Yeah, they might have been. Just shoot their legs. They're hopping.
Hospitalized.
They're hospitalized.
Yep. Leaving 2 men hospitalized. According to investigators, those shootings are not random.
Of course they're not.
They're tied to the discovery that 2 Bandito associates had been leaking addresses of club members to Notorious.
Oh, bitches.
Oh, Senor Duck. The outlaw world betrayal like this, they don't go unanswered, folks.
No. By the end of the month, the tit-for-tat violence.
It's the second time.
Right. Had the whole city on edge. Because, I mean, it is a flat earth, so Australia's right at the edge of the earth, right? Just kidding, guys. I don't believe it's a flat earth. Maybe.
Permanent.
Then, March 29th, police got an anonymous tip that made their blood run cold.
Ooh.
Officers rushed to the Granville home of Mustafa Juwaid. Where are we getting these guys from, guys?
Right.
He's president of the Bandidos Parramatta chapter, and there he's sitting quietly outside his house. And right beside him was an unexploded homemade bomb.
Oh,
If it had gone off, it could have taken out him and half the block.
damn.
No one ever claimed responsibility because why would you? Oh, that's mine.
Oh, sorry.
But everyone knew where to point the finger.
Did I leave that there?
Damn. Just 2 weeks, Sydney had become a shooting gallery for rival biker factions, each one trying to outdo the other in firepower and fear. The old days of barroom brawls and backroad ambushes long gone. It's a new kind of warfare. One fought with cars, automatic weapons, and apparently some explosive in suburban driveways.
No.
Bandidos weren't just battling other bikers anymore.
Nope.
They're at war with ghosts from their own past. Still continuing on to this day, I'm sure.
All right. Well, let's take a look at why it's actually all happening. Drug trafficking. By mid-2010s, Bandidos had traded Roar of the Harleys for the Russell of drugs.
I think they still got the roar of the Harleys, too.
Right. Some police were closing in fast. August 2014, investigators.
Just some. The other's like, yeah, I'll be back here.
In August 2014, investigators in Taree, they launched an operation to dig into the club's growing role in the meth trade. What they uncovered hit them Bandidos right at the top. The man in charge of Port Stevens chapter, Ronald Dennis Leggett probably, wasn't just running his crew. He was moving serious weight over a 4-month stretch between October and February 2014-2015. Leggett supplied over 400 grams of meth, along with keeping a small arsenal that included 3 firearms. I guess that'd be small.
Right.
3 firearms and other illegal weapons, probably knives and
Switchblades.
Right.
Man.
When the case went to court, judge he didn't mince his words. Leggett, maximum of 7 years and a half.
Woo!
Right. A major blow to the Bandidos' upper
I'm
ranks.
sure it was. But old Leggett, little maggot, he wasn't alone. His supply line ran straight into the Mannon Valley chapter, where Paul Rosell, who's the chapter's treasurer and secretary, was acting as the middleman. He was buying the meth from Leggett and reselling it to what he thought was another dealer.
Oh.
But you can take a guess, it was actually an undercover cop.
Damn right it was.
When the sting came down, Rosell, he went with it, getting a 5.5-year sentence for his part.
Oh, ain't too bad.
Bus was a wake-up call to the popos and everybody in New South Wales.
Right.
Bandidos, they weren't just outlaws on bikes no more. They were officially in the drug game. The police, they're treating them like an organized crime syndicate now.
Ooh-wee. Well, as we all know, that didn't stop. It didn't stop there. 6 years later.
Ain't never gonna stop.
Right. 6 years later, 2020, the Bandidos were back in the headlines again.
Bandidos.
When the police launched a raid on a rural property in Kula. This is in New South Wales.
Yes, that's where we are.
Right. Inside, they found what could only be described as a small-scale drug empire.
Okay. I'm glad you fucking...
How would you describe it in there? Man, it looks like a small-scale
you know.
drug. 250 kilograms of dried cannabis.
I mean...
Neatly packed, spread across multiple stages of harvest. Worth about $1.65 million on the street.
A lot.
Operation led to the arrest of 3 men, including Bradley John Duff, president of the Bandidos Sydney chapter. All 3 hit with charges of cultivating and supplying a commercial quantity of cannabis, along with participating in criminal group. For a club that built its legend on rebellion, freedom, and the open road, the Bandidos had just become something else entirely. A criminal organization with supply chains, distribution routes, spreadsheets full of cash. Started as a brotherhood on motorcycles, turned into an empire of meth, guns, and weed, and death. By 2020, it was disgusting. The law wasn't chasing outlaws on bikes anymore. They were dismantling a business.
Trying to.
Right.
And finally, New South Wales, we got some other incidents that aren't biker rivalries and all that stuff. By 2020, the Bandidos' long history of revenge and rivalry had come full circle. Violence again was erupting deep in the heart of New South Wales. January 14th, 2020, Shane DeBritt, they call him Wok. He's president of the Bandidos Central West chapter out of Molong. He was shot dead inside his home in Urrumbla. A brutal execution that sent shockwaves through Australia's biker scene. He was hit in the head with a 12-gauge Franchi shotgun. Damn!
What is he, the Menendez bros?
Right. I'm sure it killed him instantly, and probably couldn't recognize him.
Right.
Police later said it was a revenge hit.
I bet.
Retaliation for a brawl where members of a smaller outfit known as the Grudge Bringers.
Oh,
They got a grudge.
They did.
They had been beaten and robbed of their gang colors by the Bandidos. You don't want to do that. Yeah, you don't want to take somebody's colors because you already know what's going to happen.
It's just stupidity.
The murder, meticulously planned. Philip Brian Woods, founder of the Grudge Bringers, masterminded it alongside Brenton James Hayes. Willie Mays Hayes.
Hey.
Together, they assembled a crew of 5, including Jace William Harden, Brandon James Russell McLaughlin, too long, and Brian Anthony Farnsworth. It was McLaughlin who pulled the trigger, firing the shot that ended the Brit's life. Within weeks, the Popo swooped in, arresting 8 people in total, 7 men, 1 woman, all linked to the assassination. After nearly 4 years of investigation and court proceedings, justice finally came down December 15th, 2023, when the Supreme Court New Wales of the South variety. They convicted Woods, Hayes, Hardin, McLaughlin, and Farnsworth of murder. It's the latest in the chapter of the endless cycle of outlaw payback, one that's been repeating itself since the first biker club sewed its colors onto a leather vest.
Right, you love it. Before the dust could even settle, another hit rocked the underworld. August 29th, 2020. Ferez Abanader, a man who had defected from the Comancheros to join the Bandidos, gunned down, targeted drive-by outside his home in Panania. The police said it was a professional job. 2 unidentified contract killers pulled it off cleanly, disappeared into the night. Detectives later connected the murder to another assassination just weeks later. October 19, 2020, killing of Mahid Hamzi, the brother of Bazam Hamzi, founder of the Brothers of Life gang. This happened outside Condell Park residence. Investigators, they now believe that the same hit team carried out both killings. Part of a chain of retaliatory hits are rippling through Sydney's criminal underworld. Wow. Fucking New South Wales, huh?
Well, I mean, it is Sydney and all that. Right. There's nothing else besides that.
Yeah.
Moving on to Northern Territory. By the late 2010s, the Bandidos, they're still expanding their reach, proving that even after decades of shootouts, arrests, and internal betrayals, their appetite for new turf hadn't faded. Why would it? September 24, 2016, the club planted its flag in new territory, literally, by opening the first ever Bandidos chapter in the Northern Territory, which is based out of Darwin. It was a bold move north for the Outlaw organization, marking their presence in every corner of mainland Australia. For a while, the Darwin chapter kept a low profile, but as always with the Bandidos, it didn't stay quiet for long.
That's because 3 years later, 26th of June, 2019, Northern Territory Popo came a-knocking, and they were knocking pretty hard because they had music up and really couldn't hear them. Acting on a tip, officers raided the Bandidos' Darwin clubhouse in Virginia. And what they found was straight out of a biker crime playbook. Inside, they uncovered a loaded, unsecured, and unregistered shotgun.
Oh, unsecured.
A large stash of ammunition. And a quantity of cannabis ready for distribution. There was one man who was arrested and charged with multiple firearm offenses. And yet, another entry into Bandidos' ever-growing list of criminal charges across Australia. The raid showed that even as the Bandidos spread their colors into different regions, the same old habits followed. Guns, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. And a code of silence that is thick as ever.
Is it, though? We've already seen people turning informant.
Right. For the Popo, it was another day at work. For the Bandidos, it was just another day at work.
Right.
It was just another reminder that no matter how far they ride, trouble's always in the rearview mirror.
Well, maybe because it's following you, buds. Well, apparently, that's all that's going on in Northern Territory.
Maybe because you guys got a big old string attached to trouble.
Right. Moving on to Queensland. To the 90s and 2000s, the Bandidos story in Queensland read like a never-ending rap sheet. A mix of drugs, firebombs, gunfights that kept the club's name splashed across headlines for all the wrong reasons. Mario John Vosmeyer, once the president of the Bandidos Queensland faction and a senior member of the Maruka chapter. He was one of the first to fall. Between 94 and 96, he ran a heroin trafficking operation that stretched across the state.
Bet it did.
When it all caught up with him, he stood in front of the Brisbane Supreme Court in November 2002 and pled guilty. Verdict, 8 years in prison. Another high-ranking bandito taken off the streets for dealing poison under the club's banner.
Ooh.
Just like clockwork and obviously any other gang that you'll ever see in your lifetime, others filled the void.
Yep, next man up, baby. 2014, the club was still deep in the drug trade. this time pushing meth and cannabis out of a shared house in Eagleby. The operation was run by 3 members, Kevin Douglas Hill, Aaron Galt, and Luke James Dyer, all of whom had been recruited into Bandidos while in jail. Oh. When the police busted them, the charges came down hard. Hill, 7 years. Galt and Dyer, 5. For a gang that claimed to live by loyalty and freedom, more and more and more and more of its so-called brothers, they were finding freedom, traded for concrete walls and prison bars.
But the Ditos, their greatest battles weren't just with the law, they were with the rebels.
Oh.
They're longtime rivals for control of the Queensland outlaw scene. The feud flared up violently in 2007 when a crew of rebels attacked a group of bandidos with baseball bats on Bribby Island, leaving one man clinging to life. Bandidos, they don't forget and they don't forgive. Less than a month later, March 27th, members of the Brisbane chapter, led by President Blair Raymond Thompson and Vice President Ivan Clavis, Sergeant-at-Arms Kenneth James Whitaker, and an associate named John DeBilla. He's a disgruntled former rebel.
Oh.
They all firebombed a rebels clubhouse in Albion. The attack, just pure payback.
I mean, what else? What else did you need?
When the smoke cleared, police had their suspects already. And in June 2008, all 4 men convicted. Thompson, Whitaker, 5-year sentences. Suspended after 20 months, though.
Oh.
Clavis got 4 years, suspended after 16 months. And DeBilla walked free after his 417 days served behind bars were deemed enough.
Oh.
Good for you, bud.
Right.
The message between the 2 clubs was clear. Every hit gets an answer right back, baby.
Damn right it does.
You hit us, we hit you. We 2 hits.
Right. Nearly a decade later, 2017, the violence reignited because on the 26th of 17, bullets tore through Bethania. And 2 weeks later, another drive-by, they hit Callumvale. Both attacks were aimed squarely at rebel members. And the police immediately suspected it was the Bandidos.
Of course.
There was a raid that followed on the 30th of March. Officers hit properties in Kumara, Marsden, and Logan City. Inside, well, you know what they found? They found a Glock pistol, a revolver, a pile of drugs, including more than 200 MDMA pills. Ooh. 4 more people were arrested, but as usual, the outlaw code of silence made convictions very difficult. Then came the 4th of February 2019, shoppers at the Logan Hyperdome. It was a mall in Shaler Park. Suddenly found themselves, well, guess what? Another gang showdown. Harley Cranston, member of the Bandidos Bean Lake chapter, showed up allegedly wielding a machete. And things went south fast. Gunfire broke out. Cranston took a bullet to the leg.
Damn.
The Popo later said it wasn't even a random clash. It was a prearranged meeting between rival bikies that spiraled into chaos. 7 rebs. They were charged, and 2 of them, Lucas James Payne and Joshua John Lucy, the Rebels Logan chapter president, went to trial for an axe intended to maim. 7th of June 2021, Lucci, guess what? He gets to walk free after being acquitted. Jury couldn't reach a verdict on Payne, though. Another day, another bullet, another trial. Just business as usual and long, bloody saga of Queensland's outlaw motorcycle wars.
Yes. By the 2010s, Bandidos weren't just living off their old reputation. They were still making new enemies and keeping police busy from one end of Queensland to the other. Ooh. Their long-running war with rival clubs like the Finks and the Mongols exploded into full view April 28, 2012, when Jacques Timo, a Bandido member and one of the club's most feared enforcers, well, guess what? He was ambushed inside the busy Robina Town Center Mall on Gold Coast.
Oh, man.
Timo took several bullets, and an innocent woman nearby was also hit. Both survived, but the attack turned a public shopping center into a battlefield.
Wow.
They love using that word, battlefield.
Right.
The shooter, Mark James Graham, a Finks member who would later patch over to the Mongols, he was caught, convicted of attempted murder, sentenced to 12 years, 3 months in prison.
Damn.
A year later, the violence spilled into the streets again. September 27, 2013, a mass brawl erupted outside a tapas bar in Broadbeach, turning the popular nightlife strip into chaos. Dozens of Bandidos and Finks went at it, fists and bottles flying, while terrified bystanders ran for cover. Police later said about 50 bikies had rolled into town that night, allegedly on a mission to hunt down Jason Truchet, who was a Finks associate and rival of Jacques Timo. In the end, 18 former Bandido members pleaded guilty for their roles in the melee and walked away with suspended sentences or fines. It's not bad, though.
Man, go for them. That they get right. The fight, well, it was the final straw for the lawmakers. They said it's bullshit. Within weeks of that, the Queensland government rolled out the criminal law, Amendment Act in 2013. A sweeping piece of anti-gang legislation passed on the 16th of October 2013. Bandidos were one of 26 outlaw groups officially declared criminal organizations. Giving the police the power to break up these chapters, raid all the clubhouses, and even ban members from associating in public. Like, dude, you're not allowed.
Well, they can. Probably just can't have their colors on.
Right. The impact was immediate. Brisbane chapters gone. Golden age of open biker presence in Queensland over. At least on paper.
That's what they thought. Well, while they were being squeezed by the law, some members were still busy making enemies and money the old-fashioned way. August 2017, Blair Raymond Thompson, then president of the Bandidos Sunshine Coast chapter, he was sentenced to 3 years, 9 months in prison for extortion. He'd forced a former club member to hand over a motorcycle worth up to $18,000.
Oh, wow.
Sending another Bandito, Ricky McDougal, to collect it. On top of that, Thompson was ordered to serve another 34 months from a previously suspended sentence tied to the arson of the Rebels Clubhouse in 2007. Proving once again, old grudges die hard.
Yep. Wow. Even with their chapters shrinking, Bandidos' criminal network kept on rolling. 1st of October, 2020, police launched a coordinated set of raids across Caboolture, Scarborough, and Burpengary.
What are you doing, Burpengary?
This is in the Moreton Bay region. They arrested 2 Bandidos, including the Brisbane chapter president. Both men charged with 3 counts of extortion, 2 counts of armed robbery, and 1 count of using a carriage service to menace.
Oh.
A high-tech addition to an old-school crime. The old carriage service.
Mail? UPS, maybe? Right?
It's crazy.
Going back to 2011, for some reason, Leslie David Gadd, a Bandito member, stormed into the little mountain home of Jason Enrique Gravestein with an accomplice, shot him in the thigh, and robbed him of half a kilo of cannabis and $2,000 in cash.
That's it.
Gadd got 8 years behind bars for that job in November 2012. And there was Bogdan Kuik from the Bandidos West End chapter who shot and killed Jack Lee during a botched cocaine deal in 8 Mile Plains, April 12, 2012.
Wow.
Kuik fled to Serbia, but was eventually extradited back to Australia in 2016. Pled guilty to manslaughter. Got 9.5 years in prison in 2018. His partner in the deal, Marco Kokara, he was sentenced to 8 years for his part.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow. The violence kept on rolling all the way to 2019 when the police arrested the president and sergeant-at-arms of the Bandidos North Side chapter. This is after a man was shot in the face and the shoulder over a debt in Samsonville. When the police raided 2 properties on the 20th of December, they found a small arsenal. They had handguns, a sawn-off rifle, ammunition.
Sawn-off rifle, all right.
All right. Ammunition.
What's the point of having a rifle
Right.
then?
That don't make no sense. I think they meant shotgun, right?
I don't think so.
Maybe. They found ammo, they found fake IDs, drugs, and stacks of gang paraphernalia.
Oh, well, look at all these clothes with their logo on them.
Then just months later, one of the club's most notorious names, Mario Vazmir, already done time for heroin trafficking, was bashed and shot. He was shot at in an ambush at his Archerfield car yard on the 18th of June, 2021. Allegedly set up by a Comanchero.
Oh, man. My guess is there's some retaliation that's already came or coming from that. We just don't know.
Right. So 5 years, damn.
Right. Moving on to Tasmania. By the late 2010s, even as Bandidos' older chapters across Australia fought to stay afloat, the club's Tasmanian branch was still finding ways to make headlines. And not for the right reasons. July 2018, Todd Michael Walker, described by police as a sergeant-at-arms as the Bandidos' Mercy River chapter.
No.
He stood before a judge on firearms trafficking charges. Investigators caught him moving a Glock 9mm self-loading pistol between April and June 2016. And when the case closed, Walker was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
What are you going to do?
A year later, Tasmania's government decided to hit back. November 2019, new legislation officially designated the Bandidos an outlaw motorcycle gang, banning members from wearing club colors or insignia anywhere in public.
Nice.
The laws didn't just target them either. 4 other clubs were included, but the Bandidos, they took it personally. Around the same time, 2 members became the first people ever charged under the state's new anti-consorting laws for convicted offenders, which were just passed a year earlier in September 2018.
Somebody's got to be the first.
Right. They were arrested in November.
Okay.
Wow. So damn, just a couple months after the law passed, they're like, all right, we'll get you.
Like we should. Get you good. As usual, though, outlaw business didn't stop because of a new law. 16th of June, 2020, after months-long investigation, the police raided properties linked to the Hobart chapter and arrested 2 members on drug trafficking. Operation, the joint effort between the Tasmania Police's Serious Organized Crime Division and the Federal Police National Anti-Gang Squad. And it all started when authorities seized more than 700 grams of meth. Ooh. This was aboard the Spirit of Tasmania ferry back in December 2019. Just 2 weeks later, on the 30th of June, police closed the loop. The chapter president himself arrested. Also charged with trafficking.
Wow.
It worked out.
For the Bandidos, Tasmania had started as a quiet outpost, patching new territory far from the mainland wars. Yeah, man, Tasmania's not even on the mainland. Right. But by 2020, it had turned into another battlefield.
No.
The same formula kept repeating. Guns, drugs, brotherhood colliding with the law. No matter how many raids or bans came down, the Bandidos' name stayed stitched across leather cuts from Darwin to Hobart.
Damn.
Proof that in Australia's outlaw bikey world, their patch meant power. Even when it came with a prison sentence.
Damn right.
Well, whatever.
Let's take a look at the old Queen Victoria. The Victoria province.
State.
Is it a state? By the mid-1990s, Victoria had become one of the bloodiest proving grounds for the Bandidos. Started off as a turf dispute, quickly turned into one of Australia's most audacious undercover operations. May 1995, Bandidos tried to force a smaller outfit, the Vikings Motorcycle Club. They're like, you're joining our ranks, boys. And offered the Vikings said no. That rejection sparked a war. You disrespected us. Soon after, the Vikings' Ballarat clubhouse was sprayed with gunfire. And in retaliation, Bandito was run down in a hit and run. The police believe was no accident.
You think so? With both sides locked in, authorities launched Operation Barkley, a covert mission run by Detective Bob Armstrong of the Victoria Police to infiltrate his club with his 2 sons. And they're trying to stem the violence. 2 undercover officers spent months building credibility until October 21st, 1997. They became full-patch Bandidos. Over the next 13 months, they participated in over 30 drug deals across 3 states, buying weed, amphetamines, LSD, and ecstasy directly from fellow members. But as the investigation deepened, the danger escalated. After 3 Bandidos were murdered during the operation, police feared for the agent's safety and pulled the plug. They said, you got to go.
Right. Wow. 11th December 1997. Nearly 100 policemen executed a coordinated series of raids in 4 states, arresting 19 suspects, seizing $1 million in drugs, $6 million in precursor chemicals used for meth production.
Damn.
So to say $7 million in drugs. They also confiscated a very small armory of weapons, including an AK-47. Cool. When the dust settled, 2 Bandidos, Peter Skroke and Andrew Michelin, they were sentenced to 6 months in prison for meth trafficking.
That's it.
And Operation Barkley went down as one of the boldest stings in Australia.
Boldest things. 2 people got sentenced to 6 months in prison.
Right.
I mean, I guess you got 7 million drugs off the streets, but geez.
Right. And an AK-47.
Right. Decade later, the violence came roaring back.
Ooh. Like October, the War in 20s.
Right. War in 2008. October 23rd, 2008. Roscoe Brand, the Bandidos enforcer in Geelong, was shot in the head after he left the clubhouse, dying 7 hours later in the hospital.
Aww.
Club associate Paul Serwinski, he was also wounded. The killer, John Russell Bedson, a Rebels affiliate, carried out the hit with his half-brother, Derek Bedson. It was after a fight earlier that day between a Death Before Dishonored member, there's a Rebels Alliance club, and a Bandito prospect.
Oh.
So where did that guy get shot?
Right.
The DBD biker had been arrested by the Bandidos walk free. And Bedson's decided to even the score. Yeah. All right. In March 2011, John Bedson was convicted of murder and handed 23 years.
Damn.
Well, Derek took a manslaughter plea and only got 8.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, the very next year, violence turned inward. Hey.
Uh-oh.
January 15, 2009, Stephen Jones, former member of both the Rebs and the Bandidos, beaten and robbed.
Is this after he's letting his dad fuck up the Cowboys even more?
Right. He was beaten and robbed inside his Epping, Melbourne home by 3 Bandidos, Taniora Tangaloa, Jack Vayatangi, and Jasmine Destinovich.
Motherfucker's got some Samoans up in their fucking ranks.
Damn, that's nice. I like it. Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Kind of, I guess. Pacific Islanders, yeah, right there.
They stole a car. Stole 2 motorcycles and left Jones bloodied and broken. Oh, he's broken. Broke down. January 2014, all 3 convicted of armed robbery.
They took my bike away from me.
Oh, shit. January 2014, all 3 convicted of armed robbery, aggravated burglary, intentionally causing serious injury. Tangaloa and Destanovich, well, they received 8 years, while Viatangi got 7.5. Look at that. They just couldn't give them the other 6 months. Right. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, then came Toby Mitchell, one of the most infamous figures in Australia's outlaw scene and the Bandidos National Sergeant at Arms. November 28, 2011, Mitchell was shot 6 times outside a gym near the Bandidos Brunswick clubhouse.
Yeah.
He somehow survived after 30 surgeries and weeks in intensive care. So he did lose a kidney and a gallbladder and most of his liver.
Yeah, the liver will grow back, but you only need 1 kidney and fuck a gallbladder.
Police never found the shooter, but rumors pointed to prisoners of war, who was an Angels-linked prison gang. Hells, that is. 2 years later, March 1st, 2013, Mitchell shot again. No. This time in the arm as he walked into Diablo's clubhouse in Melton, a Bandidos support club. This shooting also went unsolved, but investigators once again suspected Hells Angels connections. Dude, just stay inside.
Right.
By late 2013, Mitchell's body couldn't take anymore. He quit the Bandidos site and health reasons. Good for you. Only to join the Mongols in April 2019. Proving that in outlaw world, loyalty is always negotiable. And dude couldn't earn no money doing real stuff, so.
Yeah. Couldn't go back. So I'll be embarrassed. Bandidos' violent streak continued. 24th of May, 2014. Luke Paul Mabus, John Peter Walker. Both Bandidos. They beat a man named Michael Strike. They beat him to death inside of Melbourne clubhouse after Strike drunkenly harassed Mabus's pit bull outside.
Oh, can't do that.
They dragged him inside, savagely attacked him. You like fucking around with dogs, you sick fuck. And then enlisted Joseph Gergis to help dispose of the body. March 2016, Mabus got 10 years, Walker 8, and Gergis 6 months for assisting.
What the fuck are these sentences, dude?
Right. Even as years passed, the Bandidos' Melbourne operation stayed under constant police scrutiny because on the 1st of August 2019, officers Echo Task Force, Victoria's elite anti-bikie unit, they raided the Melbourne chapter clubhouse, seizing steroids, a loaded firearm, and other stuff. Another property in Doveton was also searched. 1 man arrested, and yet another entry to the Bandidos' long list of arrests, raids, and blood-soaked headlines. I guess they didn't find nothing at Doveton. Huh?
Right. That was going to lead us to our last state, which is Western Australia. I couldn't think of nothing original for that one, could you guys?
Nope.
By the early 2010s, the Bandidos had already staked its claim across most of Australia, which we just already figured that out. And in Western Australia, they finally made their move there. October 20th, 2013, the Bandidos officially planted their flag in Perth by patching over a chapter of the Rock Machine, bringing the Canadian-born club's local members under the Bandidos banner. Overnight, the Outlaws had a new home on the West Coast, and the state popos had a brand new headache.
Nice.
Didn't take long for the trouble to start either. Just 8 months later, I mean, it's a long time. June 12, 2014, the vice president of the Perth chapter, he led popos on a high-speed chase through Munster, weaving through traffic until he was finally stopped and arrested. When officers searched him, they found drugs, leading to charges of drug possession and multiple driving offenses. Only days later, the heat spread higher up the chain. June 16th, chapter president was arrested at Perth Airport and charged with possessing a prohibited drug with intent to sell or supply.
And all drugs prohibited?
Right. Suggesting the chapter wasn't just cruising the highways. No shit. It was running product through them.
Oh, wow. Jeez, these Australians are fucking smart.
Right.
17th of June.
Just a bunch of fucking Leslie Nielsen's running around.
Right. June 2017. Bandidos Perth experiment hit a wall.
Oh.
After a series of negotiations between senior club figures, the entire Perth chapter patched over to the Rebs.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Ending the Bandidos' first run in Western Australia. Unlike the usual bloody takeovers and shootouts, this one was surprisingly peaceful. An amicable agreement between the Bandidos' eastern state leaders and the rebels' upper ranks. Rare moment in diplomacy. It was a rare moment in diplomacy in a world better known for bullets. For bullets. Still, the Bandidos never stayed gone for long. Within it's like a fucking ending of a horror movie. When the guy is like, and his eye wakes up.
Get a double tap, man.
Right. The club quietly rebuilt its presence in Western Australia. They recruited new members, opened new doors, and reestablished its influence again. Today, the Bandidos are back on the map. 4 chapters and around 60 members spread across that very state of Western Australia. They may have lost Perth once, but in true outlaw fashion, they came roaring back, patched up, reorganized, and ready to remind everyone that, hey, red and gold still rides.
They're ready to rock out with their cocks out.
Ooh, baby.
That's the wrong song, right?
Yeah,
Is it?
sure is.
No, push it.
Ooh, baby,
Push it
baby.
good. Push it real good. Right?
Push it real good.
That's Bandidos Australia crimes and
Some fucked up shit.
stuff.
Holy shit. These guys.
I mean, all the other states were pretty chill compared to the New South Wales Comanchero war, but
Crazy. That's a conflict, all right. Holy shit.
it sure was. That's going to do it for Australia next month. Well, we will be wrapping up the Bandidos with crimes in America and probably taking a rest on MCs altogether.
Yeah.
And maybe going back to
Back to
some original true crimers.
yeah, back to crimes, baby.
So there's that. Next week we'll be back for another remastered, which we'll be covering Babyface Nelson.
Babyface Nelson.
And then there's the other guy, Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah, Floyd Boy.
Guy.
Floyd Boy Pretty.
It's either going to be Floyd or Nelson next week for remastered. And then we'll end out the month with some more serial killing. So you guys already know the deals. Like, subscribe, comment, give us a share, give us a review. I know we ask a lot. give us a notification. Do all that stuff.
Anything.
Wherever you're listening. And we'll see you next week for some more Public Enemy #1. So we'll see you then. Mouth Michigan's Wheel.